A huge number of new gardeners quit after just one season. We all have that dream of a backyard paradise, but the reality often ends in a sad patch of withered plants and a feeling of failure. What if I told you the secret isn't some magic green thumb? It's just knowing what not to do. I made these mistakes, and they almost made me quit. Before you buy a single seed, I'm sharing the 5 deadly pitfalls and how to sidestep them to save you time, money, and a whole lot of heartbreak.
Okay, the first and maybe the most critical mistake is putting your garden in the wrong spot. You can do everything else right. Buy the best seeds, water like a pro, have fantastic soil, but if you nail the location wrong, your garden is pretty much doomed from the start. I did this. I picked a spot that looked nice, tucked away in a corner where it was easy to get to. What I didn't think about was the single most important ingredient for almost every vegetable: sunlight. The consequence of a shady spot is simple. Your plants will slowly starve. Sunlight is food. It's the energy they use to grow strong, leafy, and eventually produce the food you want to eat. Most of the classics, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, are total sun worshippers. They need at least 6 to 8 hours of direct, unfiltered sun every single day. Get less than that, and you'll see the sad results. Tall, flimsy plants desperately stretching for any speck of light, a look gardeners call legginess. They'll have pale, yellowing leaves and will give you little to no fruit. It's a slow-motion bummer that makes people think they're just bad at gardening. You're not bad at it, you just opened your restaurant in a dark alley with no customers. So, how do you avoid this? Easy. Become a sun detective for a day. Before you dig anything, just watch your yard. Check it out in the morning, around noon, and again in the late afternoon. See where the sun hits and for how long. The spot that gets the most consistent, direct sun is your winner. You might be shocked to find out that perfect-looking spot you had in mind is in the shade most of the day. There are even free sun calculator apps and websites you can use to map the sun's path over your house for any time of year. Now, what if you do this and realize you've got nothing but shade? Don't panic. This is where canter gardening becomes your absolute best friend. You can put pots on a sunny patio, a balcony, or even a slice of your driveway. You can literally chase the sun. Or you can just shift your plan to plants that are cool with a little less sun. Leafy greens like lettuce, spinach, and kale can get by with less. But for those classic summer veggies, sun is a deal breaker. Get the location right, and you've already won half the battle.
The second big mistake is treating soil like it's just plain old dirt. We see an empty patch of ground and think, cool, I'll just stick some seeds in there. This is one of the most common and fatal beginner errors. I learned this one the hard way too. My first garden was planted in heavy, compacted clay. My plants were tiny, they looked sick, and the carrots I tried to grow came out looking like twisted little monsters. My plants were trying to survive in the gardening equivalent of concrete. Here's the problem. Dirt is just dead stuff, ground up rock and minerals. Soil, on the other hand, is alive. Healthy garden soil is a bustling city of billions of microorganisms, worms, and fungi. This underground world is what feeds your plants. It gives roots a place to grow, holds moisture, allows for drainage so roots don't rot, and most importantly, it contains the nutrients your plants need to thrive. Planting in poor, dead dirt is like trying to raise a kid on a diet of only water. It's not going to end well. The result is weak plants that are a magnet for every pest and disease, and a harvest that's just pitiful. The fix is to stop thinking about what you're planting in and start thinking about what you're feeding your plants with. You have to build healthy soil, and the number one thing you can add is compost. Compost is just decomposed organic matter, leaves, kitchen scraps, grass clippings, that's turned into this rich, dark, crumbly stuff. It's black gold for your garden. It fixes your soil's texture, helps it hold water, and provides a slow-release buffet of nutrients for your plants. Before you plant anything, you need to amend your soil. That just means adding a generous layer of compost, a few inches at least, and mixing it into the top 6 to 12 inches of your existing dirt. If you have really heavy clay or super sandy soil, you might want to add other organic stuff too, like aged manure. And if you're using raised beds or containers, please do not just fill them with dirt from your yard. Buy or create a quality mix of topsoil and plenty of compost. Putting a little time and money into building great soil is the single best investment you can make. It creates strong, tough plants that basically take care of themselves.
The third deadly mistake is born from pure, wonderful excitement, starting way too big. You spend all winter dreaming, flipping through seed catalogs, and you get ambitious. You picture a massive plot with 20 different kinds of vegetables, enough to feed the entire block. I get it, I've been there. But this kind of ambition is a trap that leads straight to burnout. The downside of starting too big is that you get completely overwhelmed. A large garden is a huge commitment. The weeding alone can feel like a part-time job. Then you've got watering, feeding, watching for pests. It all adds up. What started as a fun hobby quickly becomes a nagging chore. You fall behind, the weeds move in, the plants get stressed, and your dream garden turns into a nightmare you want to avoid. This is a massive reason people quit. The sheer amount of work just stomps out their initial passion. The solution is one that gardeners have passed down for generations. Start small. No, seriously, smaller than you're thinking right now. For your first year, just hold back a little. Pick 3 to 5 types of vegetables you and your family genuinely love to eat. There's no point in growing a mountain of kale if you hate kale. Instead of a giant plot, try a single 4 by 8 foot raised bed, or even just a few large pots. That's a manageable size. It lets you learn the ropes and feel successful without getting buried in work. Succeeding in a small garden is so much more rewarding than failing in a big one. Once you have one great season, you can expand a little next year and a little more the year after. Gardening is a marathon, not a sprint. Start small, build your confidence, and you'll still be loving it years from now. All right, we're over halfway there, and hopefully you're already feeling way more confident. If you're finding this advice helpful, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button below. I post new videos every week with practical tips just like these, and I'd love for you to join our growing community. Now, let's get back to the last 2 mistakes.
Mistake number 4 is a tale of 2 extremes, watering way too much or way too little. It's a common saying in gardening that more plants are killed by kindness in the form of overwatering than almost any other cause. So excited about your little plant babies that you just want to shower them with love. It's easy to think more water is always better, so you give them a little splash every day. The deadly consequence is that you are literally drowning your plants. Roots need to breathe. They need oxygen from little air pockets in the soil. When the soil is totally waterlogged, there are no air pockets left. The roots suffocate and start to rot. This invites disease and makes the plant look wilted, which confusingly makes a lot of beginners think it needs more water, and the death spiral continues. On the other hand, there's underwatering. Life gets busy, you forget to check the garden for a few days, a surprise heat wave hits, and suddenly you've got a bunch of sad, drooping plants. While they can often bounce back, repeated underwatering will stunt their growth, shrink your harvest, and can eventually kill them. The solution is to water deeply but less often. Instead of a light sprinkle every day, give your plants a really good long soak once or twice a week, depending on the weather. The goal is to get the water to sink way down into the soil, which encourages the roots to grow down deep where the moisture is more reliable. The best way to know when to water isn't a schedule, it's the finger test. Just stick your finger about 2 inches into the soil near the base of a plant again. And when you do water, aim for the base of the plant. Soaking the leaves is just asking for fungal diseases to show up. Master this watering technique and your plants will be so much healthier.
The final deadly mistake is thinking all plants are the same. You go to the nursery, grab a bunch of cute little seedlings, bring them home, and just kind of stick them wherever there's an open spot. This is like buying a piece of complex electronics and throw the plant tag, and ignoring it is a recipe for failure. This mistake usually shows up in 3 ways. Picking the wrong plants. It's tempting to try and grow watermelons in Alaska, but if a plant isn't suited for your climate, you're just setting yourself up for frustration. Second, planting at the wrong time of year. Every area has its own planting calendar based on frost dates. If you plant your warm weather tomatoes out too early in the spring, a single surprise frost can wipe them out overnight. Plant them too late in the summer, and they might not have enough time to give you any tomatoes before the first frost of fall. Third, and this is maybe the most common one, is ignoring spacing. Those seedlings look so tiny and lonely in that big garden bed, so you just want to pack them in. But the tag gives you spacing advice for a reason. That tiny seedling is going to get a lot bigger, and overcrowding starts a brutal underground war for water, sunlight, and nutrients. It leads to stunted plants, poor airflow that encourages disease, and way fewer vegetables. The solution is almost laughably simple. Read the tag. Start by choosing beginner-friendly vegetables that are known to do well in your area. Things like leaf lettuce, bush beans, radishes, zucchini, or cherry tomatoes are great. Then do a quick search for your area's last frost date to know when it's safe to plant. And finally, trust the spacing guide on the tag. It might look silly and empty at first, but in a few weeks, you'll be so glad you gave your plants the room they needed to flourish.
So that's it. The 5 big: find a sunny spot, build amazing soil, start small, water correctly, and read the instructions. Look, gardening isn't about being perfect. Every single gardener, including me, makes mistakes. Plants will die, you'll have great beginner tips. Happy gardening, and I'll see you in the next one.